Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video we're talking about one of my favorite falcons, one I'm really excited about. That is the Australian Brown Falcon. It's a unique bird, and if you just saw it, you might not realize what it's actually related to. The Australian Brown Falcon came from the hobby lineage. Hobbies are a unique group of falcon. They're different. They have certain morphologies and certain color patterns you would expect. The brown falcon is one of the furthest out on that lineage. And living in Australia, it fills some very unique roles. But you know what? This video you're about to see is actually clipped from a much longer video that I did. I did a video covering all the species of hobbies and their sister lineages. And this video is cut out of that, so you're just seeing just that section. So it might seem a little off in my verbiage if I'm talking about other birds earlier, because it's part of a longer form video. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link down below so you can check out that video. But without further ado, let's learn about the Australian Brown Falcon. The Australian Brown Falcon is a really cool, very strange species. Now again, it is a branch off of the hobby lineage, which it doesn't look like it at first. It looks brown, and it doesn't seem to have any of the colorations you would have of a hobby, but genetics don't lie, and the genes say that the Australian Brown Falcon, the Oplomato Falcon of the New World, and the New Zealand Falcon form kind of a sister clade. These three species branched off of hobbies together and then became what they are now. Australian Brown Falcons, Australia's weird. And Australia gives the opportunity for species to adapt in strange ways. There is no waste in nature, and so, as I've said on other videos before, if you have a resource, then a species coming in that is not particularly suited to hunting that, but nobody else is taking advantage of that resource, will adapt to be able to do so. And the brown falcon is that way. So two things. First of all, Australia is kooky dook. It's weird. It's got all kinds of strange animals and strange opportunities and strange resources. But also, the landscape itself has radically changed. It didn't all used to be desert. That has happened, geologically speaking, very recently. And as it has become more arid, and basically the coastal areas of Australia have become as such, then you have new opportunities that show up. We have bone records of certain animals that were, tree dwellers. You find their bones in caves of like Thylacoleo, the marsupial lion. This is a species that we see, in the middle of Australia, in the middle of nowhere. There's no plants, there's nothing, it's just flat desert. And there's these bones from 10,000 years ago when it used to have trees. So landscapes change, things change. And if the rule of nature is adapt or go extinct. And the brown falcon is a master of adaptation. Now, this species lives throughout Australia, but also Tasmania, and also in Papua New Guinea. A little bit. And so that's a wide range. If you have deserts, you have mountains, you have extreme cold temperatures, and even snow once you're getting into Tasmania. But then, you get the tropics in Papua New Guinea. So this is a falcon that covers a lot of range. Now, talking to one of my friends, Angus, in Australia, he tells me that these are, in one sense, similar to a red-tailed hawk. Meaning, in the United States, you can't go anywhere without seeing a red-tailed hawk. They're everywhere. They're highly adaptable. Now, red-tailed hawk is a buteo. It's a buzzard. We call them hawks here in America, but it's not a hawk. The rest of the world would say a red-tailed buzzard. Buteos, buzzards, red-tails are soaring hawks. They're not at all closely related to brown falcons. However, they fill the same role. So if you are adaptable, if you're a generalist, you're going to thrive. And red tails have thrived, and so have brown falcons. And so apparently brown falcons are just about everywhere. They're very tolerant of humans. Now, this is a sizable bird. These range from 430 grams to 860 grams. So that's getting into the range of what I would consider big falcon range. I consider, like a peregrine falcon, a lanner falcon, a saker. Those are big falcons. This is getting into that big range. The upper end of a female, you're starting to get into that size range. And that's pretty substantial. They're really adaptable, and they will hunt anything. They'll hunt small mammals. They'll hunt birds. They eat a lot of snakes, including venomous snakes. They hunt lizards, and they will chase insects around on the ground. It's been well documented. They'll just chase and scurry and go after things on the ground. They have a wide range of color morphs, a huge range, from almost as black as the Australian black falcon, which I'll mention coming up. Almost that dark. So you gotta be able to tell the difference. But this is a bird with very long legs, a very long tail, very long wings, and it's such an Australian bird. Angus has sent me some video clips, hearing the calls of some of these and seeing where they'll nest just right on a building, or where they'll nest right just in a cluster of rocks by the ground, and it's wild. It's wild, and the sound they make. Yeah, I have never, ever heard a falcon make these sounds before. Anything like this. These sounds, to me, sound very similar to caracaras. Now, caracaras are a way distant branch off that branched off from falcons a long time ago. The crested caracara is probably the most famous, in my opinion, the prettiest of all the caracaras. But some of the caracaras make sounds very similar to the Australian brown falcon. So that might just be convergent evolution, or it could be some deep ancestral connection that's still there. This is a really beautiful bird and really adaptable. It likes to hang out just about everywhere. But again, the strange thing about it is how closely related it is to Aplomado falcons and New Zealand falcons, which all three of these species are separated by vast distances, and yet still genetics don't lie. This is one of the coolest falcons on Earth. I think it's probably, if you were in Australia, it's probably one of the most boring. It's probably kind of like, it's another brown falcon. But for me, being a guy for here in the United States, I just see them and find them absolutely fascinating. They fill so many roles. They fill the roles of what a buzzard would be. They really do. And yet they're a falcon. But they're much more nimble. Even though they're a falcon, they don't come from a lineage like peregrines or sakers or something more proper falcons. They come from the hobby lineage. So it's like an enormous sized hobby that is also filling the ecological roles of like red-tailed hawks or Swainson's hawks. So they're really cool. So they will hunt birds, but they do hunt a lot of other ground quarry as well. It seems like they're trying to just pick up anywhere there's food. They can go after it. One of the coolest species of falcons on Earth, and one of, if not, they probably are, other than perhaps gyr falcons, they probably have the widest variation of colors. Because usually, you see a prairie falcon, you're going to kind of get a prairie falcon. You see a peregrine, there's a little bit of range of coloration variation within a subspecies. Kestrels, you get a little bit of a range, but brown falcons, all over the place, from almost pure black to super pale like a prairie falcon, everything in between. You don't get that with other falcons, but you do with the brown falcon. So one of my favorite falcons on Earth, and it's a cool one to talk about. So hope you enjoyed talking about brown falcons. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the Australian Brown Falcon. Truly unique, one that I hope to be able to see in person someday. I hope to be able to go to Australia and experience these birds in person. But fascinating to learn about them more and more. I talk to Australian falconers and birders and wildlife rehabilitators, people who work with them directly, see them in the wild, the more they astound me. They're really a cool species. So hope you enjoyed learning on this video. If you haven't already, if you could hit subscribe, I very much appreciate it. Helps me keep this channel up and going. And as always, happy hawking.